Have you ever walked into a room, said something completely normal, and suddenly the vibe just shifted? Maybe it was the silence after your joke. Maybe it was the quick glance they gave someone else when you spoke. Here's the truth, most people won't tell you they don't like you, but their body language, tone, and tiny micro-reactions, they scream it. And if you've ever left a conversation feeling drained, second-guessing yourself, or just thinking, "Did I do something wrong?" You're not imagining it. In this video, I'll break down the subtle, often overlooked signs that someone may be secretly disliking you, signs even your best friend might miss. These are the hidden signs people use when they're smiling in your face, but silently wishing you'd leave. And once you learn how to spot them, you'll never see certain people the same way again. Stick around, hit that subscribe button. I'm breaking down the signals most people ignore. 1. Why don't you trust me? The manipulator's favorite line, when someone asks, "Why don't you trust me?" Be careful, this question sounds innocent, even hurt. But it's often the first red flag. A trustworthy person shows consistency, not demands it. Liars use this question to flip the blame, to make you feel guilty for their lies. "Why don't you trust me?" isn't a plea. It's a trap because once you start explaining your doubts, they start rewriting your reality. They'll say you're too suspicious. You're holding on to the past. They'll gaslight you into believing that your caution is the problem, not their behavior. Trust isn't begged for, it's earned, and the moment someone starts questioning your loyalty instead of proving theirs, that's when you need to pause, because truth doesn't need defense and trust doesn't need to be forced. Those who deserve your trust, they will never ask, "Why don't you trust me?" If any of this sounds too familiar, it's not a coincidence. Stay sharp. Subscribe for more truth like this. 2. I would never lie to you, the lie that hides the lie. Be careful when someone says, "would never lie to you." Because people who are honest don't usually have to say it. They show it in the little things, the quiet moments, the times when truth is inconvenient but they choose it anyway. When someone feels the need to announce their honesty, it's often because deep down, they know their words don't match their actions. And so, they try to compensate, with overstatements, with grand declarations, with sugar-coated sentences that sound comforting, but mean nothing. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone truly trustworthy stop in the middle of a conversation to declare, "By the way, I'm not a liar"? No. Because trustworthy people don't advertise it, they live it. But the liar? Oh, they love this phrase. They use it as a shield because the louder they proclaim their honesty, the more they hope you'll ignore the quiet inconsistencies that tell a different story. "I would never lie to you" sounds noble, sounds heartfelt, but it's often a preloaded defense against the truth that's already crumbling behind their eyes. You see, liars aren't always obvious. They don't always come with twitchy eyes or nervous smiles. Sometimes, they're charming, polished, convincing. They'll say all the right things to gain your trust, because that trust is the weapon they need to manipulate you. And once they have it, once you start believing they would never lie, they've got you exactly where they want you. Because now, every doubt you feel, you'll silence every red flag you notice, you'll excuse because you've already believed the lie, that they would never lie. But here's the truth, the people who lie the most, often say they never do, and the people who lie the least, don't have to say anything at all. Their honesty speaks through their consistency. So when you hear, "I would never lie to you," don't just listen to the words, watch the pattern. Look for the trail they leave behind, their behavior, their stories, their reactions under pressure. Because anyone can say they're honest, but integrity isn't spoken, it's proven. Protect your peace, don't fall for the performance. And always remember, the most dangerous lies are the ones wrapped in the prettiest packaging. 3. You're overthinking it. The easiest way to dismiss the truth, the moment someone tells you, you're overthinking it, stop and think even more. Because 9 times out of 10, that phrase isn't about protecting your peace, it's about silencing your perception. It's not reassurance, it's redirection. You see, when you start to connect the dots, when your gut starts whispering that something's off, that something doesn't add up, that's when manipulators panic, because now, you're not just listening, you're seeing. And that's dangerous to them, so what do? They throw this phrase at you like a cold wet blanket. You're overthinking it. It sounds harmless, even caring, but in reality, it's a psychological hand slap. It tells you, stop thinking. Stop noticing. Stop trusting your own mind. And if they can get you to doubt your own thoughts, they don't have to lie very hard. Because now, you'll do the work for them. You'll silence yourself. You'll shrink your instincts. You'll walk back the very truth that could have set you free. But here's what they don't want you to know: overthinking is not your enemy, if it's based on patterns, not paranoia. If you've been watching their behavior, connecting inconsistencies, noticing emotional manipulation, that's not overthinking. That's awareness, that's wisdom earned through pain, that's survival. Manipulators hate when you start asking the right questions, so they label your clarity as confusion, they brand your intuition as anxiety, they tell you you're imagining things, when in reality, you're finally starting to wake up. Let me ask you this: have you ever regretted listening to your intuition? Maybe, but have you ever regretted ignoring it? Almost always. So the next time someone says, you're overthinking it, ask yourself, am I? Or am I finally seeing clearly what they hoped I would ignore? Because people who have nothing to hide will never shame you for being cautious. They'll explain. They'll clarify. They'll support your need to feel safe. But liars, they'll dismiss, deflect, and derail because the truth threatens the control they're trying to keep. Don't silence your thoughts to make someone else comfortable. Your mind is your weapon. Sharpen it, and when someone tries to dull it with sweet-sounding phrases, that's when you need to be sharper than ever. If this made you think of someone, it's probably time to trust your gut. Leave it in the comments if you're done ignoring it. 4. You're too sensitive. The lie that makes you doubt yourself. When someone says, you're too sensitive, pay attention. Because that's not feedback, that's not love. That's emotional manipulation dressed as concern. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. A weapon disguised as wisdom, because the moment they can convince you that your reaction is the problem, they never have to look at their own behavior. You see, calling you too sensitive is a way to kill the conversation before it even begins. It shuts the door on accountability. It turns your pain into a punchline. You express discomfort, they dismiss it. You speak up, they call it an overreaction. You draw a boundary, and suddenly, you're the difficult one. But here's the truth they don't want you to hear: sensitivity isn't weakness. It's awareness. It means you feel things deeply. You notice energy shifts. You pick up on the things others ignore. And that's not a flaw. That's your superpower. Manipulators know this. They know your sensitivity is the very thing that makes you human. So they twist it, because if they can make you ashamed of your emotions, they can control your responses. Now, ask yourself, have you ever been made to feel guilty, just for feeling? Have you ever second-guessed your boundaries because someone labeled you too much? That's not your fault. That's emotional gaslighting. The worst part? After hearing it enough, you start to believe it. You begin to shrink yourself. You stop expressing your truth. You bottle up pain so you don't make things worse. But listen carefully, the right people will never punish you for feeling. They won't mock your tears. They won't call you crazy for needing clarity. They'll make space for your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Because here's the thing, liars and manipulators hate emotions. Because emotions point to truth. And the truth? That's what they fear most. So the next time someone says, "You're too sensitive," don't apologize. Don't shrink. Instead, stand taller. Because it takes strength to feel in a world that tries to numb you. And it takes courage to keep speaking up, even when they try to silence you. Own your voice. Don't let anyone turn your light into a flaw. And never forget, being sensitive doesn't mean you're weak. It means you see things clearly in a world that depends on people staying blind. If this is striking a nerve, it's because your intuition already knew. Hit that like button if you feel it. 5. I've been hurt before, the shield that hides the sword. When someone says, "I've been hurt before," don't ignore it, because while that might be true, sometimes, it's not a confession, it's a strategy. Yes, pain is real. Yes, we all carry wounds, but when someone brings up their past heartbreak, not as a way to heal, but as a way to manipulate your sympathy, that's a different game. It sounds soft, honest, vulnerable, but pay attention to what comes after they say it. Do they use their pain as a reason to avoid accountability? Do they bring it up every time you question them? Do they weaponize their past to excuse their present behavior? Because sometimes, "I've been hurt before" isn't about healing, it's a shield that keeps you from calling them out, a shield that buys them space, to lie, to deceive, to get close, without being questioned. And if they can make you feel sorry for them, they can make you second-guess yourself. Suddenly, you're walking on eggshells, you're not asking hard questions, because they've already suffered enough. You're giving them more understanding than they give themselves. But here's the truth, being hurt before doesn't give anyone the right to hurt you now. Pain should humble people, not turn them into silent predators hiding behind pity. You can be compassionate, but don't be blind. Because manipulators love to tell sad stories, not because they want your trust, but because they want your guard down. They know that empathy is your soft spot, and they'll poke it until it bleeds, not to heal themselves, but to control you. Here's what they don't say out loud: "I've been hurt before, so now I get away with things. I've been betrayed, so now I don't have to be honest. I've suffered, so now your pain doesn't matter." You see the pattern? People who truly want to heal won't use their pain to manipulate. They'll talk about it when it's safe, not when it's convenient. They won't make you feel guilty for needing clarity or truth. They won't expect you to pay the price for someone else's sins. So listen closely. When someone says, "I've been hurt before," don't shut your eyes in sympathy, open them wider, because real healing creates self-awareness, but fake vulnerability, that's a liar's favorite disguise. Feel for people, but don't fall for pity traps. Compassion and caution can walk together. You can care, and still protect yourself. 6. After everything I've done for you, the guilt that silences truth. After everything I've done for you, sounds like love, doesn't it? Sounds like sacrifice, loyalty, selflessness. But be careful, because when someone says this, not out of gratitude, but out of resentment, they're not reminding you of love, they're reminding you of the debt they think you owe them. This isn't affection, it's control dressed as kindness, it's a leash wrapped in memory. You see, liars know that the easiest way to silence truth is through guilt. When you start noticing their lies, when you begin to set boundaries or ask questions, they don't argue facts, they remind you of favors. I was there for you. I gave you everything. I put up with so much. Sounds generous. Until you realize none of it was given freely, it was all an investment, with interest. Because now, when you speak your truth, when you dare to call them out, you become ungrateful, you become cold, you become the bad guy. But don't be fooled. Real love doesn't keep receipts, real giving doesn't demand silence in return, and real loyalty doesn't manipulate your sense of morality. You didn't owe them your silence because they were nice to you. You don't owe them your soul because they stood by you once. Liars and manipulators build emotional credit just so they can spend it later. They'll be overly kind in the beginning, overly generous, overly forgiving. Not because they're good people, but because one day, they'll pull that card out and say, "Look what I've done for you. Now shut up." But here's what they never expected. You're allowed to outgrow people. Even the ones who helped you. You're allowed to walk away from poison, even if it once felt like medicine, and you're allowed to see the truth, even if it's wrapped in guilt. Because true connection isn't transactional, it doesn't come with terms and conditions, and if someone uses their past kindness to dismiss your present pain, that's not love. That's leverage. So the next time someone says, "After everything I've done for you," remember this: you're not here to pay eternal debt for someone else's good deeds, especially if those deeds were done only to trap you in silence later. Be grateful. But not blind. Remember the help. But remember the harm too. And never let guilt make you forget what your soul already knows. 7. If you really loved me, the quietest form of control. If you really loved me. It sounds soft, it sounds emotional, but underneath that whisper is a scream, a silent, calculated scream for control. This isn't love. This is emotional blackmail. It's not a question. It's a command. A way to bend your will without raising their voice, a way to make you feel like your honesty, your boundaries, your instincts, are a betrayal. If you really loved me, you wouldn't question me. If you really loved me, you'd trust me blindly. If you really loved me, you'd let it go. But here's the truth: real love doesn't require silence, it doesn't demand blind faith, and it certainly doesn't threaten the relationship every time you express concern. You see, liars are smart. They don't always lie with words, they lie with guilt. And this phrase, it's their most deadly, invisible weapon, because it turns the conversation about their behavior into a test of your love. Suddenly, you're no longer dealing with facts, you're defending your heart, and that's a battle you'll never win. This kind of manipulation is powerful because it uses your own emotions against you. Your love becomes a bargaining chip, and your boundaries become the proof that you don't care enough. But listen closely: love is not proven through submission. Love is not about silence when you're hurting. Love is not a test you're supposed to keep failing just to please someone else. If someone really loves you, they'll never make you feel like asking questions is betrayal. They'll never say, "Prove it," every time you have a need. They'll never reduce your worth to how much you sacrifice, because real love honors truth. It welcomes honesty. Even when it's hard, it celebrates transparency, not blind obedience. So the next time someone says, "If you really loved me," stop. Not because you don't love them, but because that sentence is not a measure of love, it's a mirror reflecting their manipulation. Love is not a trap, it's not a test, and it's never proven by how much of yourself you're willing to lose for someone else. If you've heard any of these phrases, you're not alone. And you're not crazy. You're waking up to the signs. Trust isn't built on guilt. Truth doesn't fear questions, and love, real love, will never need to manipulate. If this message hits something deep inside you, like, comment, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and most importantly, subscribe for more real, raw truth every week.